So you want to make a feature film, but you can't get investment. You don't know where to get money from, but you need to make a film yourself. What we're going to take you through is how to save money making a feature film so you can do it for cheap, but make it quality. Okay?
Right.
So let's go.
Let's go.
The Wagyu Films Podcast provides advice for filmmakers, movie news, and updates on the team's latest projects. Subscribe now to not miss out on future episodes. Remember to give us a like.
So welcome to the Wagyu Films Podcast, where we talk about everything from our experiences of producing and helping distribute feature films. Remember to subscribe. Why wouldn't they subscribe?
You should subscribe.
We've decided to, at the end of the day, we want to keep giving helpful advice to filmmakers. So if you subscribe and we get more subscribers, the more we're going to do this. And if we get to 5K subscribers eventually, we're going to put our indie hit horror Older God, I forgot what it's called. Older Gods on YouTube for free. So so give us a like and a subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. But today, what we're talking about, Keith. So first off, sorry for there's been a bit of a gap in sending some podcasts out because it is holiday season, remember, and getting us four of us into a room is difficult. Hence, why I'm just met with the beautiful
main guys
Keith,
are here.
the Keith Lupton. Yeah, so we've got rid of the terrible ones this week. But yeah, so if you never met us before or met us, talking to us, watched us, either way, we're producers from Wagyu Films. So end of the day, I'm kind of a director on our films. Keith is a producer and production designer. So we're two good ones to talk about how to save some cash. So let's get started.
Well, yeah, I think thinking about it from the beginning is probably it all probably comes down to starting is writing. When you're writing the film, especially when with us and with you, it helped to kind of know the location that we were going to be filming in, or we went on a couple of scouting locations and you kind of wrote to those locations.
Yeah, so basically, if you've got this really intricate film in mind, like this is my opus, this is what I've got to produce first, just to tell you now, that needs to be your second or third film. If you've watched our podcast before, we bang on a lot about don't wait for other people to give you permission, go ahead and do it. But to be honest, it gets harder and harder to find investment. So if you can't, you have to do it yourself. And weirdly, getting into your second film, doors open because nobody wants to work with a debut filmmaker. They go, oh, you made this low budget, but I got into some festivals. Looks like this people was interested. The trailer was interesting. That's somebody I can work because not even weirdly, as people with money don't trust you to finish. So if you turn up all arty and I've got an idea, it's just let me get my vision. Give me £10 million. It's not going to happen because they don't trust you because you haven't got any track record. So you have to kind of get your first film out the way before anything, your actual career starts. Like, for example, we have produced 1,000 TV commercials, but when we went to get investment in our films, doors were shoved in our face. So we've been doing this for 15, maybe 20 years. And because they wasn't interested in what we'd done previous, so music videos or TV, it was just, and short films, it was what features have you done? So what we're going to bang into your head today is basically just get a cheap one done and it's good. But going back to Keith's point, you've got to start with the writing. So do you know that film you've got with loads of locations, loads of characters, loads of effects? Please don't try and do that first. I mean, if you can do it, good on you. But how good's the quality going to be? So what we're going to talk. So the main point first is first off, limit locations and limit characters. The beauty thing is 2 characters or 1 even. Remember Ryan Reynolds buried in a coffin somewhere, 1 guy in 1 place. Phone booth, that's obviously a big thing with lots of supporting characters outside. But at the end of the day, it was a full film with a guy in a phone booth the whole time with a sniper on him. So it's kind of limited to that. Because... And then weirdly, what happens if you know you've already got that in your mind? It's actually a problem with writing when you have too much freedom or too many. That's where writer's block comes from. But if you've actually got constraints, I can't do that and I can't do this. You actually write, and then once you've got those constraints, you write the best you can do, and then that essentially okay, that's where people get creative, and when people go, so first off, you really have to limit locations, which was,
and I think that's where it comes back to what I was saying. So when we were looking for like hallways or corridors. So while we were doing location scouting, we came across this bunker in Cheshire.
Yeah, like a nuclear. It's like a Cold War 80s.
Yeah.
If you go on our YouTube and watch a film called Afterlife, that's where we filmed it. So.
But yeah, so with Afterlife, it was we were doing a location scouting and we came across this bunker and we found the hallways and the corridors that we were looking for. But it didn't just have that there; it had other things. So it had separate rooms where there was loads of machinery and there was like an old ward.
Yeah, like a
medical centre. But just away from the filming side of things, it also had things like toilet facilities, catering facilities.
Yeah, there's actually somewhere upstairs we could have something to eat.
It had separate rooms for wardrobe, makeup. So it had all these things in there. Parking was massive. We didn't have a huge crew, but we still had parking facilities. But all these little things were all part of the same cost, rather than having to find multiple locations for the ward scene, for the when he's running through the machinery area as well. So
anything that saves you getting set up again and again and again. Anytime you move between locations, that's time, or you just know that you can't do it, you're going to have to do that on a second day, which a big point of keeping money down on budgets is limit the amount of filming days you have. So if it could all be done, but that comes back to the writing. So with that, we kind of had an idea in mind for what we wanted to do with Afterlife, but once we sat around that, I think I had a different way of, basically it's like a story of like a guy who wakes up in some kind of abandoned hospital, and he kind of goes through the dark of the hallways, and there's obviously some creepy stuff in there.
I'd recommend watching it.
Yeah,
I watched it recently.
It's pretty good,
and it still surprised me.
It's one of them where you're like, the further you get away from your films, you're probably like, yeah, was it all right? But when Afterlife is one you watch, where you're like,
I think there's a series there, a Netflix series maybe.
It does say to be continued at the end of it, and we still haven't got round to it, but we will in the future.
But I think that was also something that we did with Older Gods as well, because we kind of scouted this location of the isolated house.
There's like a cottage in the middle of nowhere.
And, you had this kind of vision in mind, but we kind of had different things around us as well. So we had the surroundings of the farm, so it was more isolated. We knew we could have some outdoor shots doing this, so every scenes which was just room, we're like, we could do that bit outside, because there was this little bench outside and a fence and some woods behind. So, and get to the point of like when I was writing it, like Afterlife as well, which it actually weirdly made writing it easier and faster, because there was no messing about. Because usually what you do is you come to a script to the rest of the team, and the rest of the team go, where are we going to do that? And how are we going to, okay, you're going to have to change the script to do that. But you're like, if I change the script to do that, that means that this bit later in the script doesn't work. So if you're actually writing to the location you already know, it makes writing much easier. It makes writing quicker, because you're not faffing about, and actually makes production cheaper, because we're not rushing about between locations, we're just sticking to that one thing. But that was the thing with Older Gods as well, with the little cottage in the middle of nowhere. It helps with Sean as well, or the DOP, just because they can kind of visualize where they can set up, or what kind of confinements of the room they've got to work with, and they can think about the lenses that they're going to be using as well. So it just helps in terms of just seeing your vision in that kind of location.
There was one scene in Older Gods where we really wanted to have it, the old emotional scene with sun coming through the window with a bit of smoke, so there's a nice ray coming through. So we did, when we came to scheduling, we knew what part of the house we had to be in, and so we can't delay other parts or do another thing, so we were able to do it in less amount of days, because we knew, right, if we need to get that shot, it's got to be at that time of the day over on this side of the house on the second floor, next to this window in the hallway. But so it's kind of, it's always locations, and it's also not easy to find multiple places sometimes when you got no money. Like, how often do we struggle getting hallways or corridors?
If anyone knows,
Let us know.
anywhere in the UK,
Or broad. It's maybe cheaper.
Anywhere where there's just hallway, you see it. Oh God,
with no windows.
With Signal.
Yeah.
Signal's a prime example of the hallways and the corridors that were like, we need that.
Yeah.
But trying to find those locations locally to us or a few miles away from us is
because
hard.
nobody will rent you out a hallway. They have to rent you out the whole building, because if it's like an office building, you can maybe get a floor, but the floor will include other offices and toilets. So it's not like, all I need is one, not even long. I just need a fucking.
I think it was like a T
hallway.
junction or an L.
A T junction of a hallway, and it's, you can find a million hole, but it's like, A, did they let you film there? B, will they do it for cheap, because you're gonna have to hire a whole building or a whole floor most of the time. So going back to that bunker, it had hallways and there's 2 floors of it, but it's only a small bunker. So if you could hire the whole place out for a decent price.
And with having to hire out the whole floor of a building, you can't really isolate the lighting.
No, you can't. And if you want a hallway with no windows like where you want, that's even fucking hard.
But yeah, if anyone knows of any locations like that,
know.
that we can put them in the comments. Let us know, because we are constantly looking and trying to find locations.
And we're constantly using the same hallways we already know we can get, just trying to light them different or have it. So, but yeah, so kind of limit locations. And also, that kind of thing we're talking about is have a location that you could do multiple things. Even if it's a warehouse, you could say that direction, I'm doing an interrogation room space. This way, I'll put some screens and I'll be people watching the interrogation on some screens. That way will be, I can make it dark, and it could be, so it's
even being smart with your locations, isn't it?
Even if you just got 4 corners of a big room, each of the 4 corners could be a different set. But if you're writing it before all that, you can actually come up with something simple, so but yeah, how can you A, limit locations, and then B, get a location that you could use in multiple ways, and then if you're writing it with that location in mind, it actually makes the writing easier. And the more vague your writing is, the harder it is for the production team, because you're just like, they run down through a building and they're like, what building, what works for the stuff. But if you can be really specific for, he goes down a hallway, he turns right, he goes down two flights of stairs, and he comes to a big metal door. Handing that to a production designer sometimes can be a nightmare. Like, oh fuck, what have I got to get? Because it's unlikely you're going to get all 3 in the same location. So the metal door bit might have to be another location where budget goes up. But if you've found somewhere and you just know the location and what's there, write that scene depending on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So very much location. Characters, at the end of the day, is keeping your actors to a minimum. Actors are the most important part of your film, so obviously you need them. But I think, for example, in Patriarch, I remember we had a bunch of characters when I first wrote it, and we started getting into, could that person have this line? And then so trying to limit it to the amount of actors we got. But it was actually, and then we got to the point where we limited it too much. And I remember Scott going, that Colonel can't say all of that. There's too much of a change in him later on, so that he needs to have a sidekick who's just angry the whole time.
Yeah.
So we went down to get up. But it's very much keep characters to a minimum. Paying actors, you can. Now this is risky. Some actors will be willing to do it when they're starting off. Is deferring payment. So that is, they make money if you sell the film. So any profits from the film, you have an agreed price that it should be basically the first money that comes into the film goes straight to them before you, because that's fair. Or at least you have some kind of, or what agreement is if there's 2 actors and yourself, you split it in 3, and every first penny that comes in goes 3 ways. But deferring payment is basically saying they do the job for free, and then you're going to pay them later. It's not doing it for free, you're going to pay them later on. But there is a risk that you will never sell your film, or your film doesn't make a penny. So those guys have really got to take a risk. And if they do that, you can't take advantage of them whatsoever. You can't be like, they're making them do crazy hours and long day, and to a point, oh, this is a 6-week shoot. It's like, no.
You can't take the piss with it, can you?
A few days. So again, that comes to writing a script where you can film this whole feature film in 3 days, which is possible. It's just about coming up with the idea of what it is. Is it a guy trapped in a car where there's a monster outside his car? So this whole film, that you can do that in 3 days. So like I'm sure there was a Tom Hardy film where he was just in a car on the motorway. It's called Locke or something. But basically it's just him on a motorway. It's actually a really good film. And all he's doing the whole time, I don't think it ever goes out of the car. He's just having conversation because something has happened and he's driving somewhere to go and see something which is bad in his life, some family emergency or something. And I think he doesn't, I think it's something like he thinks he's, I think he's feeling suicidal or something. So I think along the calls he makes are people he's saying sorry to and stuff like that. And like, I think he calls his wife who's angry at him, he calls his family, maybe his kids, people he's worked with who like knowing what he's done with something in work, and they're all kicking off and panicking.
There's no flashback? I haven't seen that film, but
no
flashbacks. Was it literally him on
the phone? So filmed in a few days. I think obviously they paid fucking Tom Hardy, who's a very good actor. So you need a very good actor to do something like that, which where comes lots of auditions comes in if you can't afford like a casting director or something. But there are places like Star Now and Spotlight where you could put some ads out for actors. But yeah, so it can be done. That's the thing. It's just, are you a good enough writer? Because it is kind of easy to write a script with everything you want in it, explosions, as many people, but it's actually harder to write a good script on the small ideas, but you can get more creative with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? So it's keeping characters to a minimum. That will save you on actors, really. If you can try and make a script with 2 max, or maybe 1. Like Older Gods, to be fair, was pretty much 1 guy the whole time through. He was watching, kind of similar to Locke, he was watching videos and messages people left him. Couple of people do sneak in for like a scene.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of creativity with like the audio recordings and stuff, and kind of the videos that he was watching, and all the documentation that he'd found on his travels, and all that he'd found.
Like research. He's been one of his mates has gone missing, and he's trying to investigate what happened to him with all this research stuff. But there was that, because we had Patriarch, a much bigger job in mind, but all of our backers pulled away because there was some kind of global pandemic a couple of years ago.
Was there?
And so we got to the point where everybody backed off, and we just needed to film with the little amount of budget we had left when everybody backed off. So that was Older Gods. 1 location, a cottage and some woods outside it. 1 character with the occasional guy who pops in. Lots of voiceover, lots of video messages for him. So obviously what we've done is we got constrained with budget, and I always wanted to do like a Lovecraftian type cosmic horror type thing. So I had that mixed with a script I've always wanted to write, and then we went about and did it, and that's how we were able to do it for the budget that we had. And it kept on. It was kind of COVID, so we were working in a bubble, but we kept our crew to a minimum as well, didn't we? So
the crew were doing multiple jobs as well. It wasn't just
even the cast, to be fair.
The crew, the cast, everyone was getting involved in it because they were so in that bubble anyway.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not a union shoot, which is a lot of agents and things like that want to be, and actors, to be fair, want to be on, because in union shoots they're given, obviously in America and things like that, you actually get health insurance and things like that through it, which makes sense. But in the UK we have free healthcare, but there's still like safety regulations. So basically what we did is we followed union rules, but it just wasn't a union film. Do you know what I mean? We did all the risk assessments and insurances and blah 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 blah. But we couldn't have done we couldn't have done it in the because it was COVID, so we had to be in a bubble in a freaking cottage in the middle of nowhere. That's another thing. If you can get a location you can all stay in,
that's something as well.
That's a good one, because
that'll save you a lot of money,
thousands. Because we stayed there for a couple of weeks, and we all slept in that cottage because there was a few bedrooms in it, and I slept on the couch. So That's a good tip if you're doing something like a horror in a house or something like that. If you can find somewhere that you can actually, the crew and the cast can stay in without any moaning, that will save you a lot of money. I mean,
because we literally bounced from one bed. Some of the shots were in bedrooms.
Yeah.
So all the casts and crews,
they were staying,
suitcases and everything, we had to get all the stuff out of their bedroom while we filmed in there.
Yeah.
And then once we'd finished with that shoot, we put everything back in and then cracked on with the next scene, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked really well. But it saved us a lot of money rather than having to put the crew and the cast in hotel rooms around the corner.
Actually made the crew and cast a bit like closer together because they're all kind of in it.
It was kind of like a family at the end of it, weren't we? Because we were all living in it. We were all waking up, having breakfast together. We were all talking about the day, the plan for the day, for the schedule for the day, what the next, everything about what we were going to do, and it worked out really well because everyone was on board with it.
Yeah, it was great. So, locations and characters is half of the. So try and think of what you've got. So you've got a car. You got a house, and then you're like, okay, I've got somebody's couple of guys. What's the word? Wordless guys, so they're not actors, have to say stuff, or just outside staring. And you got somebody who's like under siege, trying to get out of it on the phone, trying to call police and stuff. Do you know what I mean? If you've got a friend of a family friend or somebody that owns a restaurant, could you go film in there at night when it's closed? Try and give them something. Do you know what I mean? But still do favors and blah blah blah. Then write a script based in a diner or a restaurant where the apocalypse starts outside and there's a few people inside wondering what the hell they're going to do. I don't know. So that's what you got to do. Is work out what you've got. Do you know what I mean? Car, house, office. Do you people that you work, is your managers that you work with cool? Would they let you do something in work? I don't know about that. They don't. Usually you go to them with health and safety and things like that.
But speaking to them about if they want to be in it as well. That's like it's free. It's kind of like not free actors in a way, but just bodies. It will make the production look bigger if you've got more bodies in there. So if you can ask someone, even if it's friends, just family, anyone who can just pop in and just sit down and pretend that they're on a phone or looking over a computer or something, it would all help with the production value of the film. So there's no harm in asking someone if they. No. I mean, most of the time, if you say, "Would you like to be in a film?" they will jump at the chance. So you just need to have the confidence just to say, "Listen, we need someone to be in this shot."
Yeah, what I found is most people aren't afraid to be on camera. They hate their voice being heard. Do you know? Even our our commercials, when we interview people or something, they're just like, can I just be in I just have to say something. I'll be on. So you'll usually round up people to it. But if you limit characters as well, you're also limiting things like costumes and the amount of people you have to feed. And you can get between me and you,
and the 5 people who are watching?
Between me and you, if you get costumes and props, I'm not saying we've done this, but you can. So there's a company that rhymes with Shmamabun, that has a 30-day returns policy. So, do you remember that time you got really upset with that costume and prop that you bought and you sent it back 30 days later? Got your money back? Or got different costumes for a different shoot?
I don't remember us doing that.
I've
heard someone talking about it.
I don't know what you're talking about. But that is, I hear that's an option for people. I don't know what I'm talking about.
We wouldn't do it, but...
No. Use a 30 days money back return? Never.
On a high quality costume?
Never. Well, how high quality is it going to be if it's from Shimazazan? What did I say? Anyway, there's something to think about.
It's not a very big company, though.
No, I think it's a small family. Yeah, that company will really miss that $20 you spent on that shirt. Anyway, moving on. So, but yeah, so you limit people, you limit props, costumes, the amount you got to feed. You don't have to get catering, but try and make sure you feed people well, especially if you're doing that deferred payment thing. If you're not feeding them, you're a shit house. But it just takes more time. All of this takes more time. Whatever you don't spend on money is more time. So if you got a cast and crew, you got to feed them, but you could do something like a proper good homemade chili, which would probably cost you $15 to make in a big pot, but put them all in little pots, and that you're just going to have to do that in the evening. Or if you've got a family member or a loved one who will moan at you but will help out for shoots, could you do a big pot of stew, a big pot of chili, a big, something which is like something you could just get rice with and dollop it on, or chips or something, A good hint is, even before the shoot, you could do all that before the shoot and put them on little packs that you get from a takeaway or something, and put them in the freezer if you got space. So then you can stuff that you could, like a chili, you could freeze, bring out, stick in a microwave, and everybody's got a nice hot meal. Do you know what I mean? So, and then you can feed them for a week with that if you have a huge pot where you spent like $20, $30 or something like that, $20 on rice, and you fed everybody for the week. We ate pretty well actually on that. But if you're just really scrimping for food,
we were being careful on what we were eating as well. We weren't just eating loads of shit, because you have this kind of like
carb slump.
You have that slunk, and you just kind of like, oh god, after you've eaten something that's really stodgy and stuff, you feel your energy's just zapped out of you. But we were eating really well in the mornings, and then it like just as we were going, we had
it's a good thing of lunch times. Maybe not have all sandwiches, because everybody does have that.
I'm ready for a nap.
Yeah, there's nothing, because you'll always find that afternoons are more busy than the morning, because the morning there's always that slow getting set up, and afternoon it's kind of when everybody's hitting their,
you're kind of powering through, aren't you?
Yeah, so you don't want sandwiches and things like that. Whatever, you do need to fill them up, but is like a jacket potato with some cheese on it better than a sandwich? I don't know, but just something to think about. That energy slump in the afternoon after lunch is a thing, so you definitely need to watch that. You've also got, we do say daylight is free lighting, so so could you have an all outside film? Depends where you're based because of the weather. If you're in somewhere like the UK, that's really hard to do because of the weather.
Yeah, it's pretty shit.
But you can, if you find a good summer, or if you're in a country which is obviously.
But the good thing about the UK is if you're doing a 3-day shoot,
3-day you might make it,
and you're outside. What the first day, pretty much the lighting's pretty much the same, because it's just like a blanket white sky. So every day could be kind of consistent in a way.
Yeah.
But then the one day that we filmed, and it was in one day we had sunshine, snow,
it was the hottest
and rain.
day of the year. I remember, when we did Wait, our short film.
Yeah.
That snowed.
Vanera. Yeah.
And was really sunny by the end of the day, wasn't it? We went from
the
one
morning
location where it
snowing
snowed,
in the mountains,
which really worked because our short film is supposed to be like a journey. So he starts off in snow, and then later on he's in some woods with the sun beaming through, and that was done on the same
day. You couldn't plan. You can't plan stuff like that. That's the only negative about filming outside and stuff. You can't plan for things like that.
But if you can find a way where you can do it all outdoors in the day, that is free lighting. You just got to have your guy have the good guy turned to the sun, and the bad guy with a shadow on his face turned back to the sun. Then you're kind of onto something. But something to think about.
We just have to quickly explain how this podcast is sponsored by Filmware. Stylish but practical clothing for film crews, video producers, and lovers of movies. All profits also go towards Wagyu Films' next film, so you are both supporting the team as well as looking like an absolute legend. Go to filmware.store today to pick up your crew t-shirt, sweater, hoodie, or training top.
So another thing is a good trick of how can you reuse the same thing twice but in a different way. Now what I mean by that is, for example, is a good tip which I thought was really, really good was Ridley Scott's first film, The Duelists. I was watching the making of that, and in the back, and it was I think it was done for like $1 million, but it's all costume drama. It's like Musketeer 8, but they got like a horse, and do you know, this proper big horse and carriage with like the royal. So we've got one of those riding in the background. So in one shot you see a red one going by, and then in a minute you see a blue one coming by. So all they've done is got one car, and he painted one side red and one side blue. So when it goes out of shot, one goes across around the back red, turns around, comes back in the same shot. That's two. He actually copied that idea again in Blade Runner. So he had cars that were painted one side and then one side on the other one. They didn't move, but it just meant when they reset a shot, they just refilled the cars.
That's
which
awesome.
meant they'd halved their car budget. Do you know what I mean? So it's just being clever with the angles that you film it to. So it's, how else can you do that? But it's like, but cars look at props. You could have could you have reversible costumes? Do you know, like a shirt is, do you know those ones which are blue one way and you turn it around and it works the same as green?
That used to have the 2-in-1 coats. I used to have a 2-in-1 coat. I think I had a Nike
was it?
And it was like a blue and a grey flip.
So it's how can you use the same things twice? So how can you use the same location twice? Just decorated different. But I thought that was really good idea. Do you know, like it's the simplest ways actually saves you money. I've actually found in filmmaking when there's a problem, people throw money at it, and if you haven't got money, it's actually when you get something creative, which is actually better. So, but yeah. So think about it. I know that's just cars and carts, but how can you take that idea and to where one side something's done like a certain way and the flip side's a certain way? There's things you can do, but again, it's in the writing of what you can do in the background.
Yeah, I know it's not that kind of thing, but I know in Alien when he doesn't use a glide cam arm as the gun holder.
Yeah,
things like that. I still look at that and I'm going, that still looks amazing, doesn't it? And that's just clever.
Yeah, there's a shot in just what you've got. I remember the shot in. I mean, spoilers for The Terminator. If you haven't seen The Terminator by now, stop watching and go watch the fucking Terminator. But you know, Kyle Reese dies at the end, and there's a shot of him getting in a body bag,
yeah.
But it's just a close up from here to here. But what it was James Cameron's suit bag. Do you know when you put a suit?
Yeah.
So what's his name? Michael Biehn was in a suit bag on the bonnet of a car. And just zip, but for just an insert.
Everyone stop, let's just get this.
So he only would have been down to his chest and poking out.
That's amazing.
But it looked all right.
Yeah.
So it's what have you got? And so rather than, I've got to get an arty shot of him looking, I need 3 paramedics to come in. I think they just flashed some blue light. So you can you assume there's a paramedics and police. Suit bag, zip, bang.
That's awesome.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
so
awesome.
it's what have you got? And I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of, we could go on for ages, but there's things like obviously tax rebates where you can get your money back, but you have to be an incorporated company to do that. So that might not be able to, something to do. But at the end of the day, there's big films out there that have done well, made with no stars in it, and no budget. Obviously, Clerks. You know, Kevin Smith. He just put it all on his credit card. I'm not saying that, but if you do have to spend your own money, maybe it's an option. Paranormal Activity costs $15,000. I think you might not even have $15,000. So, but I'll leave you my last point. I don't know if you have any more, but my last point is gear. Now everybody's always trying to say, "Well, I need to get a fancy camera," and blah 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 blah. You don't. What you need to spend your money on is sound, because you can be forgiven for shaky, grainy imagery. You know, color it interestingly, film it in black and white. But what you can't be forgiven for is bad sound. People will stop watching if the sound's shite.
Yeah,
or it's all ADR. It's all. So if you've got £1,000 to get your camera and sound, I would spend most of it on use a phone. The amount of feature films, there are more and more being filmed on phones, and nobody really cares. Do you know what I mean? I think we were saying in another podcast is stop trying to impress other filmmakers. Don't worry about them. You've impressed an audience that's going to watch it. You know, the Blair Witch Project, Paranormal Activity. You know, it's all really clever writing. And they did a very average-looking film, but it was an intriguing film. At the end of the day, if you've got a good story, good acting, sounds good, you can make a really good film in a couple of days for not a lot of money. So, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, go and do it.
Go and do it. That's the biggest thing with us, is just go and fucking do it. Stop waiting for permission, because you'll never get it. Again, I always push it, but there's a really good speech called "This Cavalry Is Not Coming." I think it's Mark Duplass, South by Southwest speech on YouTube. Watch it. You'll get everything that we're talking about. Sorry.
It just gets you excited.
Oh,
I remember the first time you told us about it, and it was just like, do you know what? Fuck it, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Get off our ass, because you'd always make excuses. You make excuses for yourself to not do it. When you've got all the gear, you can do it. You just need to get off your ass and do it.
Anymore. Sorry, there's no excuse anymore when you got a phone in your pocket, which actually has. I mean, when we were doing commercial photography and stuff like that 15 years ago, it was nowhere near as good as a phone, is it?
God, no.
So you've got no excuse. Go get some sound. Go round up some friends. It's just all in the idea and the script. The better idea you've got with the less characters, less locations, you'll be better. You can do something cheap and something good. Innit?
That's right.
That's right. So anyway, right. So thanks very much for watching this episode. Remember to subscribe. We get to 5k subscribers, we'll put Older Gods on for free. And then
big shout out to Filmware as well. Thanks for the sponsor.
If you want to, our sponsor Filmware. Any profits we get from that goes back into our films. So again, we appreciate the support. And I mean, have fun out there.
Yeah. And put the location if you have any hallways. Locations, send us some pictures, upload them. Just give us some comments and let us know where we can use, because we've been looking for God knows how long.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks very much, and we'll see you in the next one.
And freeze.
Time. Are you doing it? I can't.
I
can't stop coughing. What's wrong with me?
Uncomfortably staring into your eyes.
Gosh, it's the handsomeness. It's like looking into the sun.
My eyes are on fire. Burning.
All right, we're done.